Welcome to another fantastic episode of Muscle Spasms, where we talk about the science of fitness, but we have a little fun with it. I am Mara Marek, your host, personal trainer, Arezan's best friend, and this is Arezan, host
of best friend.
I'm his best friend. He's not mine? Other way around?
Yeah.
And with us, we have the dunk master of the world. We have been obsessed with him forever, as long as we've known each other. Right? Yeah, we watch his videos every day. Let's give it up for Jordan Kilganon. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so how long have you been playing basketball?
So yeah, with basketball, it started literally when I was born. I was actually named after Michael Jordan. My dad was a big basketball fan, and I just kept kind of playing when I was a kid, all through high school. Then after high school is kind of when I stopped and just focused on only dunking.
That's it. Just dunking. So when did you get into dunks? Like, how did you know that you could jump, that you had hops?
That was something I trained to have for a very long time. So it's not like it just kind of happened out of nowhere. A lot of people I compete against are like that, where they're just kind of genetically freaks, like they're really talented naturally. But I had to train for a very, very long time. So it was a very progressive thing. When I got to the end of high school, I could do one and two handers. But then, I had been training for a long time before that. My dad being a personal trainer too, helped me out a lot. And then after that, I kind of just took things into my own hands and treated dunking like as if it was an Olympic sport. And here we are.
So you didn't have the natural talent and you had to train, but you just kept coming. This is like a Coach Carter movie where you're like, you just show up, you say one of those what you're not afraid of moments. How did you show up every single day with was it just ignorance or what? You were just like, I'm going to do this like forever and ever. This is what I want. How did you have that drive?
Well, I was fortunate with a few things, right? So my luck wasn't necessarily, my genetic talent, but it was more so who my parents were, and also what I naturally had a big drive for dunking, even though I wasn't like good at it to start off with, relatively speaking. And then I was just like super obsessed with it. I used to dunk for every day for 3-4 hours a day on average. So sometimes 9 hours in a day sometimes. But again, this was on like 8-foot hoops, 9-foot hoops, or 7-foot hoops, just making my way up like over time. But then my dad, again, he's a lot more than a personal trainer. He's like such an amazing like motivational speaker. Like he's basically become like the father of like so many of his clients, you know what I mean? Like he's changed people's lives, and I had that as an actual father, which is like unbelievable. And not just from that side, but also from my mom and stepdad's side. They for them, it's more on like the education side. They are just like relentless when it comes to business or education or anything like that. And they were just an amazing example for one, like for more like the mental kind of stuff when it comes to education or business. And then I had my dad, which is more like physical, but also mental, of course, starts from mental. But I was very fortunate to have that set up along with how much passion I had for it already.
Do you have like a social life? Are you
slightly more now, I guess. Like I have just selective friends, I guess, especially when I first went for dunking. I'd see somebody I haven't seen in a long time and be like, oh, I'm so busy, I have no time for a social life. And I'd be like, what's the point of a social life? I was just too busy, I made myself busy, and I just kind of didn't talk to you for a long time, and which is fine. I'm okay with people going through that phase. I think it's really important to develop all that confidence when you, because you learn a lot of skills too when you just zone in on one thing for a long period of time. You master something, right? You learn a lot of cool things. And
very Goggins.
Now, pardon?
It's very Goggins-esque.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do I agree with having that kind of mindset forever? Maybe not. It depends what your goals are, really. But now my goals are more like learning more and more skills to enjoy life the best that I can, and to eventually pass those on to other people as well. So I have a bit more of a social life, a little bit, so it's my certain friends I select and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I had a roommate that made me go out every Thursday to be social.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, you at 5 o'clock, you are done and you have to be social. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. How are
That's
you?
it.
What do you like to do as far as hobbies go?
Um, for me, the past little bit has been a lot of personal development kind of books. I do a lot of reading, and
Series.
a lot of kind of spirituality stuff is what I've been into. So for some reason, I've been huge just recently into learning about all the religions. So I've been reading a lot about Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, the Bible, uh, the Quran, and all this kind of stuff. And just because I like to know what makes people tick. I don't know why. It's fascinating to me. Like, what is the person's like purpose in life? And kind of religion kind of approaches some of those issues. And I don't know. I just find it fascinating.
Do you ever apply it to yourself? Like because it seems like you're like trying to study other people and other people's patterns. Do you ever look at your own patterns in that then maybe?
No, 100%. It's all part of the same thing. When you discover yourself, you're also discovering other people as well. At least I
Mhm.
think. But if part of my goal, like part of what makes me feel good, is helping other people, um, I can't always assume that I know what it's like to be another person. So if I can learn a bit about that, because this was part of my advantage growing up, is that I didn't learn well like in school, right? Like I
Mhm.
wasn't I wouldn't get good grades. Meanwhile, now I know the way that I learn now. I learn better if I put the speed of like audiobooks at like 1.5 times the speed while doing chores. You know what I mean? But put me in a classroom where people are speaking in normal speed, I'm gonna miss it all.
You're zoning out.
So yeah, I'm zoning
Yeah.
out. So for me to fully realize that from that learning experience that people learn in different ways, right? And so how is it that I can teach people in ways that can be clear to multiple people, right?
Mhm.
Again, at the moment, I'm kind of like a bit. I'm not well. You could say I'm lost. I don't feel lost, but I'm at a place where I don't know where I'm going, but it's very exciting, because I'm
Mhm.
I'm at the end of dunking, and sorry, I'm talking a bunch now,
No,
but
no, that's good.
um, but the whole point of dunking was so I can use it as an authority to have a good influence on people. But now I'm getting at the end of it, I'm just like, okay, well, what am I going to say now? What kind of messaging am I going to deliver? So that's what I'm trying to get on now.
Yeah, because you do have a lot of exposure and you have a lot of people that look up to you. So you're like, what do I do with all of this power? And you can do great or you can do evil. So I guess, or you can do nothing. And
100%.
I guess that's evil also.
That depends on your perspective. But
Have you ever
yeah,
done
no.
Reiki?
I've not done Reiki. No, I've like dabbled like such a tiny, tiny amount in the energetic medicine and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
not much.
I just
Have
did
you?
I did a Reiki massage and I was like, was the table heated? Like the guy passed out twice and he stood up and I go, was that table heated? And I go, my butt's on fire. And he's like, no, it's not. It's not heated at all. And I was like, oh, that was crazy. It was crazy. You should try. It's amazing. I should take you.
Interesting.
You need it. You need alignment. Did you have questions for?
All
Yeah. This one's a little spitfire.
right.
Go for it, Arezan.
Have you ever got an injury and or fell after a dunk?
Yes to both. So one time I tried doing a between the legs dunk over a car, and it did
Oh,
not go
wait, can you
very
say it
good.
again?
One time I tried doing a between the legs dunk over a car, and it did not end well. I hit my head on the ground pretty hard, and I got knocked out. So that was one injury. Another time I tried doing a dunk over a car, and I fell and hurt my wrist. My wrist is still a bit messed up from it, but one of them uh, was just my knee. Right, when you do that much jumping, it obviously can be hard on the knees. It took me a long time to figure out how to actually help it. It took me like a year and a half, but now we're all good.
So that didn't stop you? The injury didn't stop you? The knee injury?
No, of course not. I know there's plenty of answers out there for, you know, therapy. And luckily for me, I have like a really big interest in how like body works and physio and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of just, became a bit relentless with how all the research I would do and stuff like that. It's kind of fascinating how much stuff doesn't work sometimes. You know what I mean? So anyways, I was lucky enough to eventually meet the best people in the world for attendance in Australia, most updated research, along with I met a new mentor of mine along the way too, who is, I've never met somebody like him ever. And so the combination of those two, plus, my own efforts and learning about this stuff helped me out a lot.
What do you think qualifies that person to be like for you to say they're the best? I'm just interested because I like to do a trainer highlight every week.
For sure. So I guess it's just that there's not that much research, like proper research on tendons. And they're just kind of like two of the people that are more at the forefront of it, that have been in it for a very long time, actually studying it for real, and not just kind of like making assumptions. That was one of the most cool things about meeting them, is I asked them so many questions, and I've had this experience with other people who are known as like the best in their field too. It's like they say I don't know a lot. You know what I mean? Whereas you look at other people in other fields who are much less educated and say, oh, it's because of this, it's because of this. And meanwhile, all the best people are saying, we don't know that yet.
Right.
That was fascinating to me. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things that they're kind of known as some of the top people for that.
We watched one of your interviews. It was like, isn't that one of the Socrates theories, is like, you have to engage with what you don't know versus like, you have to just accept that you don't know as many things. Didn't you say that?
Yeah. A wise man knows he knows nothing.
Yes. Did you have any other questions?
Who is your hero?
Oh, that's a good question.
Good question. I mean, the safe bet is always going to be my dad,
Aw, that's so nice.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's done so much for me. It's unbelievable. Then I grew up, having Michael Jordan as my hero. But the more as time goes on, I don't really see, especially because I've got to meet a lot of my idols in dunking, right? It's kind of changed my perspective, and I don't necessarily see people as like these like heroic figures so much anymore. I think everybody has heroic qualities, right? But I'm doing my best to be my own hero.
That's amazing. You've got pretty deep in the past few years, because I feel like we watched a bunch of your interviews from 2016, 2000 and before. I was like, oh, you've done some really inner work here.
I've definitely changed a lot for sure. I mean, that's the idea anyways.
I know, we're supposed to be evolving.
Mm.
You guys are both Tauruses, I heard.
Oh,
happy
nice.
Birthday. Happy recent.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, you too. How old are you?
Are you in Canada?
Yeah, I'm in Canada.
You're in Canada now. Do you live there all the time? Or do you have a place in the States? Seems like you're
I don't have a place
a
in
lot.
the States. Yeah, I end up moving a lot, but or moving around anyways. Let's say I'll go hang out with some friends in the States, or my parents just bought a condo in Florida, so I'll just go hang out there sometimes.
Nice.
Like I don't need to work anywhere, like it doesn't matter where I am, kind of thing. So
how was the pandemic for you?
Terrible. Well, that's actually not true. It was amazing in other senses, but so it was great for a few reasons. But first, I mean, it was bad just financially, because most of my income came from doing actual like physical shows in person.
Oh yeah.
Right. So my income just like crashed, but it was great because it forced me to look into other avenues of making money. Because before that, I was kind of in a spot where I was like, oh, as long as I make enough money to be comfortable like dunking, I'm happy, And I had this idea before about how wanting more money was like a bad thing, even though, here I am working for it all the time. And then coming to the realization again.
It's a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think I used to think that making money was is almost like a noble thing to not care that much about money, But now I realize, again, through all the readings that I've been doing, is that money is just kind of an amplifier. If you're a good person, you're going to do more good things with it. That's, if you're a bad person, you can do more bad things with it.
Right.
So anyways, I eventually started caring about money more. And basically focused on making money through social media, basically stuff where I didn't have to travel anywhere. So, and then YouTube as well. So basically when I came out of COVID, I'm coming out very, very strong because now I'm doing shows in person and also all the stuff from online. And it's been very great. Plus I got to do, whenever I do a lot of shows, I have to stop like my heavy lifting. I have to come out of a certain phase. So I'm jumping my highest. And there's finally a time where there was none of that. So I could just get like my strongest that I've ever been, which is really cool.
What is your training like? Do you lift?
Yeah, I lift a lot for sure. Yeah.
How do you do like a strength phase, an explosive phase? How many times do you fit in HIIT or post activation potentiation, any of that stuff?
So basically, mostly jumping, or no, I shouldn't say obviously, but I'm jumping twice a week and also lifting legs about twice a week. And I'm basically just trying to get strong, right? So yes, I might do a small phase of hypertrophy, then go into some strength and just get my numbers up basically, right? So I'm mostly doing the two main lifts have always been squats and deadlifts, then, add in other stuff like lunges, hip thrusts, or whatever it is. And then I'll move into a power phase, right? So I'm just moving the weights faster, less reps, more sets. So usually like power cleans, snatches, jump squats, that kind of stuff.
He just started doing weights.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Presses today. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I've been doing more upper body recently, especially because I like having the ability to move the ball really fast, right? And more upper body. As long as I'm staying like relatively light, trying to stay under 180, then at least I'm getting my hops up still.
Do you have to worry about you're becoming too muscular for like your scorpion move that you have? And
luckily, no, because since I was a kid, the reason why I have such a monster arm swing, like even on my approach and my jump, my arm swing comes up like super high. So you can think of it as like, I'm constantly doing PNF stretching every single time. My arm goes back, I do contraction at that range of motion. So because I jump so much and I never stop jumping, I'm never going to lose that. It's always that flexibility in my arms will always stay there. If I ever stop jumping, then yeah, it'll start disappearing. But because I always jump, it's like my body will get tuned like specifically for jumping. And I know you mentioned HIIT training too. I don't do any sort of cardio like at all because
you do cardio all day long, 9 hours, 3 to 9 hours a day.
It's not though. It's it's a different kind of thing. I wouldn't do that anymore because it's a really bad idea if I want to jump higher. Ideally, I would just jump an hour, which is like impossible for me because I love it too much and I go for longer. But the difference between fast twitch and slow twitch muscles, right?
Yes.
So I am like maxing out how many fibers I can turn into fast twitch muscles. So if I do anything that's kind of endurance, not completely anything, but if I go, let's say to some kind of festival where I'm walking around a lot, or I go to another country and I have friends bringing me walking everywhere, I will actually noticeably lose vertical because it's slowly turning some of my fast twitch into slow twitch. At least that's my theory. I don't know if that's why, but that's what happens every single time I try. So no cardio for me. I am actually you can't even ask me to do 5-minute run. I will die. Yeah.
Yep, you feel the same way, right? Do you have any advice for anybody that wants to just start balling? Maybe get a trainer that knows how to throw.
My advice when it comes to anything to do with sports, especially for younger people, is just to play a bunch of different sports that like you enjoy, because I think that was one of my advantages with dunking over other people. Is that I am very, very good at adapting to anything it is I need to do. I've created like almost 250 new dunks now. And the next closest person might be at like 40 or 50, but the reason why I'm able to adapt and like change my body's movements so easily is because I have a big history of playing so many different sports, whereas a lot of the other guys don't. And I even heard this from a Chinese Olympic coach for like javelin. He says he hates it when he gets like this prodigy kid who only did javelin his whole life, because whenever he gets him, he has to like break down his habits, right? Because he's got like these habits that he can't change. He's got to break his habits down for like a year or two, and then he could start reintroducing like small changes. But if you get somebody that played a bunch of sports and did javelin, they can adapt like that, right? So I think be able to play multiple sports and just have fun for the beginning.
Have you ever been afraid of anything?
Yeah. One of my biggest things was so I was supposed to go skydiving. I don't know, like 7 years ago now, and I ended up bailing. And I just hate that idea that I committed something and I bailed, and it kind of haunts me for a bit. So I just, when I turned 30, that's when I decided to go skydiving and get it out of my system. And yeah, it was very, very cool to see what happened after that skydiving thing. Like a noticeable thing where any small amount of fear I would feel after that was like, oh, but I jumped out of a plane, so I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like I did my biggest fear already, so I'm good. So it's very easy to like overcome those obstacles. It's cool.
So where did you jump? Where'd you go?
So I just did it in Toronto.
Toronto. Okay.
Yeah.
And I heard you talk about mindset a little bit. So he's got some fear. So I don't mean to share this with you, but sometimes he has some fear of falling. So how can you give him some advice on how to like change that mentality, maybe?
Well, I'm a big fan of just like progression based on where you are. I think people really, everybody knows about progression, but I take it super seriously, right? So it was easier for me to jump out of a plane because I spend a lot of time doing small things that scare me all the time, because I'm obsessed with being as free of a person as possible. I like to do what I want whenever I want, kind of thing, and have no restrictions. And anytime you stop something because it scares you, you're less free now, right? So I like the idea of just like it increases your range of like how free you are, basically. So let's say polar plunges, right? Like I'll be driving on my way home, like during the winter, and I'll have a thought like, oh, like I should go polar plunging on the way home or whatever. Like it's right there
On the way home.
Like, yeah. And I'm like, but I don't really want to. And it's like, no, I thought about it. Now I have to do it. So then I'll get out of the car, go do it.
Hold on a second. Do you know what a polar plunge is? Do you want to explain what a polar plunge is?
Sure. It'll just be, in the middle of winter, there'd be like ice on the water too, and you just go in the water. It's very.
I know. We're in Texas right now, so it's like 110 degrees. So we're not.
That's funny.
Okay, so you just decide to go, and then you just go.
Yeah. So like that's just like an example, but.
Are you Wim Hof breathing before you go in?
No, I just
walk in.
I go in. Yeah.
Just
so
all 620, just heading on.
100%.
Perfect.
But the thing is, I'll have like in me like times where I have to say I'm in the shower and I'll just crank it all the way cold. Also, our water gets cold in where you guys are too. But I'll do like cold showers or just small steps along the way. Like let's say you catch me at a time where like let's say for some reason there's like a month where I'm in a rut. I'm gonna tell myself to feel really good if I manage to do like a cold shower for 5 seconds. Okay.
It's like a small victory.
A small victory. It's about like every day you want to cast votes for who you want to become, right? And you really have to feel those victories every single time.
I'm gonna start hosing you down with cold water.
You're running away. Funny.
Do you have other questions?
No.
No, that's it?
Yeah.
You're done? Okay. He wrote some good questions now.
Do you have any more questions?
No, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. You crushed it, Arezan. You did great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Where?
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry,
wait.
that's probably.
No, you're good. I want to. You should do like step by steps on how you do each of your dunks. I was just thinking about like you should do a Patreon with that stuff. Like have people subscribe to that. People would do it. I would do it. And I'm 5'3", you know.
That's fine. No, that's actually the plan. I'll be posting on that probably on YouTube soon. But probably after the summer though. My summer's gonna be super busy, but yeah, that is the plan for sure.
What can people expect from your summer? Is it anything that's public that people can watch or be a part of?
I was thinking about actually doing that. I usually never like, you know how some like artists like DJs or musicians will have like their schedule or whatever. I've never done that before, but maybe I should do that. But
you should.
Although most things are usually kind of last minute, but still I should like put that in my link tree or whatever.
That would make you committed to something. It feels tough for you.
Yeah, well, no, that is true, but especially my mindset being, on to make more money so I can, use that money to achieve my goals. I have no problem with that stuff when it comes to doing like a dunking.
That's all part of it
as a job, right? That's
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Okay, so do you have anything that you are like, this is for sure what I'm going to be doing, or should people just follow you on social media and just wait till you make those announcements?
Yeah, probably follow me on social media. I'm super disorganized. My manager has like all the dates and stuff like that, so I can't remember the days. I'll try and think. So dunk camp is something we'll be doing.
You run a dunk camp?
I don't run it, but I'm part of it. It's in Utah. It's super cool. It's like the funnest thing in the world. It's so cool. Yeah, that's June 27th to June 30th. I'm supposed to go in Brazil. I'll be in Florida in a couple of weeks, I think. I don't know.
The parents' condo.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, then we'll just make sure to tag you on our social media when we post this, and then people can go to your site. And do you have a site? Do you have a website? We're only subscribers for YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, I just use YouTube, Instagram, TikTok mostly, and that's pretty much it.
I trained the media coach, and he told me that you don't need to have. He's like, all you need now is TikTok, Twitch, and Instagram. He's like, that's where everybody's putting the money. I was like, thank goodness, because I don't want to have anything else.
Yeah, no, honestly, just having the link tree thing where you have just like you click the link and you go to multiple websites from there.
So much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pray that you have a super boastful social life very soon. And
thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I super appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. Again, sorry, it was kind of probably not what you expected, but I can't help it.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna look totally different. No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
No, I was kidding. Just kidding. All right, thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Jordan. Say bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Welcome to the trainer highlight of the week portion of Muscle Spasms. I'm here with Ryan Moody. Hi. Explosive coach of the century.
I'll take it.
We were doing some inside baseball talk off the pod, and I was like, ooh, save it for the pod. So you're a world record holder of box jumps?
I've broken 9 world records over the years. I don't know that I hold any of them anymore, to be honest. So I was at one point.
The logistics of breaking a world record it's tough.
Yeah.
The process is pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
And on my season prior, I had a different, I had a co-host.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then for someone from the gym was trying to break the pull-up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love him so much, but he did a practice the week prior, and I was like, no, you don't.
No.
Nope.
No, not going to happen.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
You're going to hurt yourself. And he did. He ripped his bicep. So,
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's rough.
Okay, so you have 9 world records. What is one? Eating toilet paper? What are they?
They're all box jumping. So
okay.
Yeah, all literally jumping on a box for a living is what I like to say. And so anything from standing to standing box jump to seated, running, single leg on left, single leg on right. Most 50-inch box jumps in 1 minute from a standing position, stuff like that.
Now let's give some perspective. 50 inches. So the normal one in the gym is 24.
So depending on what kind of box, I know at y'all's gym, y'all have one that's like the base is like 20. And then, but if you were to go to...
Are you talking about the black ones or are you talking about
the soft ones?
Okay.
Yeah, the soft ones. Kyle and I were actually jumping on those just a couple days ago, actually. It was my first time in.
Hogs from Cowboys.
But on average, most commonly you're going to find boxes that are like 20 to 24 inches. That's typically what a lot of gyms will use out the gate.
Okay, so we're talking about more than double.
Yeah.
More than double.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that record?
I believe the best I've done in practice was 22. When I did it at the Arnold Classic in Ohio in 2014. Gosh, I want to say it was between 18 and 20. I can't remember. I have to actually look it up. It's been a minute. Okay. But yeah, it's a very exhausting one. It's one that after I did that one, that was like the second or third time I broke it. And I was like, I'm not doing this one again. It's horrible. It's extremely painful.
So earlier in the episode, we had Jordan Kilganon on, and he does 3 hours of jumping every day. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wow, that's because when we're doing, setting up a program for clients, we try, it's never advised to do more than once a week.
Right.
And he's doing like 3 hours a day minimum.
And I would argue that Jordan is an anomaly.
Okay.
And that it wouldn't be something that general population I would advise. However, with what Jordan does, being a professional dunker and literally like the best in the world.
The best and the best. He's such a good guy.
He is. I've known him for a few years now, and I'm a big fan of Jordan. But the time he has to spend in the gym, basketball gym, throwing down dunks, it makes sense. When it comes to training, him and I have talked training some back and forth over the years. And I know that his training can vary. However, the time, as you said, spent actually jumping in the basketball gym is a lot. And I would even say that one of the differences with jumping on a court versus even like turf or rubber flooring is that it absorbs a lot. It also
the basketball
helps.
court does, yes.
And that in turn means it's going to save the joints some. So that makes it a little bit better.
The same flooring is typically like group exercise as well.
Right. And so you can end up saving the joints a bit more than anywhere else. Like I said, he's definitely an anomaly. I personally, when I train for jumping, I don't jump that much. I spent a lot of time working under my mentor who passed away recently, Louis Simmons of Westside Barbell. And he would only allow me to do, when it comes to box jump variations, he would only allow me to do, I want to say the max I was allowed to do is 24 in a day. And that's amongst all the other training that we did, and only about 3 times a week. Yeah,
that seems far more reasonable. And you're not even a deconditioned athlete. You're looking at people that I watch people that just do it every day, and they don't vary their workouts at all. And you're like, please don't die.
Yes, please, please. Absolutely. Yeah, it can get scary really quickly.
Or hire me for your rehab. Either one.
Yeah, there you go. Good to go. 100%.
Okay, so say you take a young Jordan, right?
Okay.
Or anybody who's looking to get into dunking. What would you say their first steps would be?
Does the individual have any fitness background to begin with?
I would say you're like a 12-year-old with a poster in your room.
Okay. So one of the best things I would advise someone at that level to get into jumping, ideally, I would start them with jumping in general. Okay. So practicing jumping, whether that's, at a basketball goal, touching the bottom of the net, working your way up to the rim, or even start setting the basketball goal at a lower height and getting really proficient there. Yeah. Depends on the athlete, right?
5'3",
Yeah. So that's actually something I used to do when I was younger. I played basketball most of my life, and I was typically the small one. And so I had to be fast and I had to be able to jump because the guys on my team in high school were 7'3". I'm 5'9", and the next tallest at that time was like 6 foot. So I had to be fast, and I had to have something else up my sleeve, which was typically my jumping ability. But it started with just practicing jumping because I was obsessed with wanting to dunk from like 3rd grade on until I finally could. But that would be a starting point. The other piece is, and one of the things I think is missing from a lot of programs that work with youth, trying to teach them to jump, would be how to actually properly take off, where the knee position is over the toes, how you're loading your system before you leave the ground, and how you actually land. Because most people can jump, however, majority part don't know how to land efficiently. They end up doing more damage either to their knees or their lower back. And so those would be ideal pieces. An example of someone who could have used more of that in the professional world was RGB3 when he tore his ACL in the NFL, and I think he ended up tearing it 2 more times, something like that. But when you watch videos and pictures,
Ruth Bader.
Exactly, close. She had an amazing vertical. It was just a long time ago. There's no footage. So
still the necklace on them.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good luck charm.
Okay, RGB.
The third. I'm trying to remember his actual name. I can't remember his actual name. But he was a hell of a football player, just a star in general. However, he was plagued by ACL tears. And if you watch old footage or even pictures of him jumping, his knees cave in when he jumps, which is obviously not an ideal position to jump from. So there's definitely a lot of weakness.
Or squat,
You're
or
right.
walk, or yep. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that an arch weakness, do you think?
I think there's a few things going on there. I think one, he's possibly not training to push his knees out, and so he's not truly engaged. And so when I see something like that going on, the first thing I do with someone like that is I have them box squat with no weight and have them do it from a wide stance. And the reason being is it teaches them to separate the floor with their feet, which puts their knees in an ideal position. But yeah, there's definitely weakness going on either on the inside or the outside of the legs. And it's very possible he's just super tight on the external side of the leg, which that's going to cause all sorts of fun problems.
Yeah, I feel like that is that's pretty common with everyone right now, especially with everyone being trapped in their house for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then reemerging now.
Yeah. We as human beings are not meant to be sedentary. We're meant to move.
Yes.
Yeah, in any way that we can. Otherwise, it does more damage than good. I've tried to tell my parents that all the time. So.
And do your parents not move around?
They used to move around a lot more. Nowadays, they're in their mid-60s, and it's a lot less. And I keep trying to encourage them because I'm like, oh, this hurts, that hurts. Well, when was the last time you spent time walking or exercising in any fashion? I don't know.
Do they have a dog?
Yes, they have 3. So
okay,
yeah.
I was like, get him a dog.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and that's the thing is, even with my background with what I do, both in training and as a therapist.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix.
It's a perfect combination.
Right?
It really is. But
Right.
I feel like your clients would be so much more athletic than...
You'd be surprised. I've worked with everyone from little children all the way up to, I think my oldest client was 78 years old, and we got her doing a seated box jump at 36 inches.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was in Hawaii. Shout out to Jack Canberra and the crew at 50 barbell on Oahu. It was his mom that actually came to the seminar, and it was amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah. But then I've worked with everyone from professional athletes, Olympic athletes. After Mike Madonna finished his career, I trained him for a while here in Dallas. Handed him over to Hoagie, actually, when I went back to school. But and I've worked with Olympians like Kendrick Ferris and Holly Mangold. And so when you look at that kind of that array of athleticism, you have everything from knows nothing about fitness to knows everything about it, to people who are like, I'm just trying to get in any bit of shape. And it's amazing what people are capable of.
What do people need explosive training for?
That is a great question. So I've actually spent several years going around and speaking for an organization it's called the YPO, the Young Presidents Organization. And so these are presidents and CEOs of some of the largest corporations in the world.
Are you going to the Washington trip? There's a Washington trip coming up.
No, okay. No, I am not.
Oh no, Wyoming. I mean, Wyoming. Isn't it Wyoming? Okay.
Honestly, I'm not sure. The last one I went to.
A couple of my clients are also in that, and they just canceled their Wyoming trip.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well, the details of it. Sorry, we're having a little side.
You're good.
They had one night where, and this was pretty consistent. I mean, she's very fashion forward.
Okay.
And the dinner, you had to take a horse for an hour and a half out to like a stable seating, sit in the hay, and then ride the horse back. And she goes, so I go, so you're probably not going to do that one.
Yeah. Jeez.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So she was like, we're not going. I was like, I didn't think you. I think that was, we all knew that.
Exactly. Oh man.
Yeah. Okay. So young presidents. Sorry.
So one of the last trips I did was, it was either I did work for them in Kenya, Tanzania, Zanzibar, and then that was either the last trip or it was San Antonio. So that was like 2016. So it's been a minute. Yeah. But within that organization, one of the things that they actually have me do, besides jump on things when I'm there or jump over things like cars and fun stuff, is I actually teach them. This gets back to your question around why do we need explosive training? Because if I'm a middle-aged man, let's say, and I don't do anything really fitness-wise, well, why do I need it? Well, the reason why they brought me in is because explosive training really connects to hip health. And the more functional your hips are, the longevity you'll have when it comes to overall functionality. It's the moment we get to a point where we lose that, or we fall on our hips, where we're in a walker or a wheelchair, we lose quality of life.
Right.
And it goes down fast.
Frailty is what kills you. Yep.
And so that's what they bring me in for, is to teach them how to just be more explosive with their hips, but also how to actually train their hips.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think that this was where this was going to go. I'm going to get all my clients, Joe, if you're hearing this, she's so great. She sent me this thing about training older women from the 1950s, and it was like, you start with a sack of potatoes or a potato sack, and then it has all these things that you can do with the potato sack, and then she's like, once you're good at that, add potatoes to the potato sack. And I was like, let's put that up next to you sumo deadlifting. I was like, that's what we have you do. Yeah. So, oh my God, I didn't even think about this. I learned something new every day.
Right.
Yeah. I was thinking, because somebody was like, why would you need, because I used to be a pro cyclist.
Okay, yeah.
And I got hit by a car.
Oh.
Yep, shattered my hips. Yep.
So you know what it's like to not be functional.
Correct. Yes. And now my hips don't work as well. You know, obviously I don't have a lot of, but working on it every day. And I was like, yeah, you need explosive strength for cycling, because when you're at the finish line and you want to win, or if you want to go up a hill past someone, or you want to pass anyone,
it's got to be there.
Yeah, you got to have that. So you need it for everything.
Yeah, and when you think about explosive training, so when it comes to a true definition of explosive training, there's a lot of different definitions out there. I don't know that we can necessarily consult Merriam-Webster and get like the definition. However, there's three main proponents that are involved with explosive training in general. One is force production, your ability to produce force, right? Another one is rate of speed, so how long it takes you to actually accomplish the task. And then the final one is your ability to overcome any form of resistance. So if you think of that as like a power lifter who is squatting 700 plus, and you look at them, they're going to have explosive power. They're also going to have absolute strength because they need that. But the explosive piece is their ability to get out of the hole quickly. So from that bottom position, breaking parallel, to full lock out at the top, if you watch a lot of powerlifters who are very explosive, you'll see them crush through that. Burley Hawk from Westside Barbell, he squats 905 raw and in socks.
Who doesn't?
And he does. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's what I did. I did that this morning a few times.
That was my warm up.
But if you watch him squat, it looks like he's doing an air squat. And you're like, how is that even possible? But this man trains to be very explosive under load. So his ability to overcome that external resistance is massive. So guys like that, you can see them box jumping. I'm going to say AJ Richards, who was one of the greatest powerlifters of all time, world record holder. At 308 pounds, I believe his box jump was like 55 inches.
Oh my God.
That's a lot of human being
That is
going really high. Yeah.
That is a large mass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Leaving pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you think about that too, functionality for those of us who don't squat that kind of weight, if you're in a chair, like let's say seated like we are now, we have to produce force to stand up. We have to do so at a rate of speed that makes sense and doesn't take us an hour to get out of the chair. And then at the same time, we're overcoming a form of resistance known as gravity. Right? And when those things go down, if our explosivity goes down, then that's where you see the deterioration start to happen as we decline in age.
So I just want to, while you were saying all the force production, and overcoming resistance, I was like, I just want everyone to know that all the stuff that we learned in high school does apply when we're older. But you also talked about landing. So this is a thing that I always make sports analogies with my clients, and I train mostly women, and they all look at me. I'm like, when you're catching a football, you don't want to catch it like this. That's gonna hurt. I'm like, you want to bring it into your body. And they're like, I don't catch a football. I'm like, okay, great. Let me think about something.
I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay, so go ahead and talk about landing.
Let's talk
about the don'ts first.
There's plenty of those. One, don't land stiff-legged. Your back absorbs everything. One of the there may be some of you out there going, well, who would land stiff-legged? Let me give you an example of how we do that in this type of exercise, and it happens all the time. We actually do this in my seminars, which is like jumping over a hurdle or a PVC. When it gets to a certain height, whether you're standing and jumping over or running or taking a power step, when we land, we do this thing where we arch forward as we land, and that's a very locked out position, and then people complain about their back. Yeah. 100%.
I'm like, stop doing dad bod.
Yeah. And the thing is, they just haven't finished the movement.
Right.
They've stopped themselves at the lockout of their hips, and all they have to do is explosively recoil the hips back or go into a squat form, and it saves everything, including our joints.
It is. You see it often on Instagram, on social media. There is our Cowboys. Maybe I shouldn't have said the name. Actually, who cares? We have a social media, and only white men seem to be reshared on there, but there's this guy that always does box jumps, and he always lands like that. And every time I'm on the stair climber watching our repeat of the thing, I'm like, get him off of there.
Yeah. Please don't show them that, please. Yeah.
Okay, what else?
So landing stiff-legged, obviously not ideal. The other piece is sometimes we will land, and when we land, we'll land into like not even a quarter squat, higher than a quarter squat, which is okay. It's better than landing stiff-legged. However, if you were to land and literally turn that into an air squat, what you're doing is you're taking all the force, right? The energy of when you hit the ground, and you're dispersing that out throughout the system and the floor, rather than if I sit, hit, and like lock in like, let's say a quarter of a squat position, that is still going to hit my joints at a really high level. However, I squat through it, you're moving all that power out, if you will.
Right. And my cue when I talk about catching a football, if you just catch it in front of you by closing your hands together, like for all the listeners, just try to imagine it. it hurts, right? So if you catch the ball and then bring it into your body, it takes all that ouch away. So that's what I explain when I'm like, land and then just go into it. So because a lot of people, I think, they get so excited about getting onto the box, or like they don't think about the rest of it, and that's like a third.
Right. And it's important to really be aware of that piece, because it can do a lot of damage over time. Years ago, 2010 or 11, I was training to break the standing broad jump world record, which at the time was 12.23 feet, I believe, which was set in, I think, the 70s. No, correction, that was actually done at an NFL combine, I think in 2009 or 2010. And I hadn't really spent a lot of time doing broad jumps for like maximum distance, maximum effort. And so my first week of training, I was hitting 11.6, and I was like, oh, I'll be able to break this in 6 weeks. Like, not worried about it. I was jumping on rubber matting, as what they had in the CrossFit gym that I was coaching at the time. And I didn't really think about the fact, I was like, oh, rubber, it's going to absorb some of it. I didn't realize that even with that, my knees were still taking a heavy load as soon as I hit the ground. And it was within like 2 or 3 weeks that I started having major knee pain, and I had to stop completely. I had to stop a lot of my training in general, and I had to go into a rehab format of my training to be able to get back. And so I always advise people to, if you're going to do stuff like broad jumps, even if you land in a deep squat, you really want to be on a soft surface. It's ideal.
It really is.
I've had all sorts of surgeries on my knees, and not because of this, because of freak accidents.
Okay.
But no non-jumping related. It's snowboarding, stuff like that.
Oh, I was like, drinking?
Yeah. Okay. No drinking. No drinking either. But yeah, so it's highly recommended so you don't have knees like mine that were beat up over the years.
Yeah, you just don't want to be beat up. You want to. People just want. They're like, I'm just gonna try it here. This is. Take your time.
Yeah.
Do it right.
Yeah.
You know?
It's that hold my beer mentality, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, this isn't something you want to just get right into. I mean, I understand being explosive, but don't be explosive into getting into it. Take your time into it.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
It does. It really does. Okay. So where do you train now?
So currently I moved back to Texas in 2017. I went to school at Boise State in Idaho, and then graduated, went to University of Utah.
Okay.
Spent time there training, went to Arizona, helped run a gym down there, and then moved back when my dad lost his job. And that was in 2017. And that was still pre-COVID, obviously. However, COVID was obviously also right around the corner.
Yes.
So I was coaching out of what was CrossFit Luna at the time, CrossFit White Rock. They were sister gyms. And that's where I had my stuff, and I slowly was building my own setup. However, I didn't have a garage, and my parents had a 2-car that they weren't really utilizing. And so I got permission to load that gym up. And so now when people walk into it, I have people that are walking the neighborhood when I'm over there training, and they'll literally come in. It scares the crap out of me because I'll be in the middle of something and I'll turn around. There'll be someone in the garage with me, and they'll be like, dude, this place is awesome. I'm like, yeah, it's also not your property. What are you doing? Scares me every single time. But it's everything that you could want in a gym.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
I have a gym in my garage also.
Nice.
And
nice.
I also have a vintage trailer, and I'm redoing it.
Oh, awesome.
And I think it's like a mating call for men, because like every older gentleman comes over and goes, looks at it and just stands in the garage and goes, yes, coming along. It's coming. I was like, thanks.
Duly noted. Yeah, right. Yeah.
How long have you been watching?
It will make sense why only men have been the ones showing up in my garage then in that case. So maybe it is a mating call. I need to shut the garage when I train. This is not the avenue I'm going for. But yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, so do you do any like large group programming?
I used to. So when COVID hit, prior to that, I was doing seminars all the time. Done over 500 seminars in 40 countries over the past decade plus. And COVID hit, and obviously that everything was at a screeching halt.
Yeah.
And I was in a position where I'm like, well, what the crap am I going to do now? And so I just kept trying to build the gym out.
You have a better language than Arezan. He'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I was thinking that and going through all that at the time. But at that point in time, my stuff was also at a decline anyways. And that's actually my fault. I started running my own thing into the ground because of we'll say, going through really difficult mental, emotional time with a breakup.
Oh, I was like, relationship?
Yeah, those things. And so I had pulled away from it at that time. This is like 2015. I was booked out 6 months to a year in advance. I mean, in 2014 alone, I was on 440 airplanes. So it was insane. And I just stopped trying to keep the ball rolling. And as you know, in business, that doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. Even if you're booked that far out, eventually it starts to go down. So I did that to myself.
Yeah. You really just have to keep working.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's part of it.
I told one of my clients who has a lot of momentum in his life, his fitness, his business, and he's having a relationship issue. And it's very evident that he needs to just cut the cord and move on. I don't say anything. I'm very much a therapist like that. I'm like, you know what the right decision is.
Right.
And I was like, I think this might be a universe test. Like, do you actually feel like you deserve all the wins that you're about to have if you do the right thing?
Right.
So
right.
I am always like, but you make your own decision, break up.
Right. Exactly. Or like in therapy, what we do, it's called reflection, right? So we'll reflect content or feelings. And so an example, like if he's complaining about the relationship and how frustrating it is, we say things like, it sounds like it's really frustrating and like the relationship's not going very well for you. And then they're like, yeah, you're right. But we didn't do anything.
No.
They were just reflecting what they're saying. And they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about it like that.
You're like, oh.
Well, that's what you're saying.
I know. So I lived in Manhattan before this, and it's different than here.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I hate to make this broad generalization since I only know the people from where I am every day, all day. But being in a smaller town with less access to fulfill your dreams, you still have the same type of people here that have the abilities who... Like I have a couple of clients who I'm like, you're bigger than this. Like you just be bigger. Like, and they get in a lot of personal trouble. Sorry, we're taking a big step sideways. It's okay. And I'm like, here's what I can see. I'm like, you have a much bigger path and you are limiting yourself to this tiny town. So I think you need to think bigger and you need to have a partner that lifts you up.
Yeah.
And believes in you instead of yelling at you about not doing the littlest things all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're minimizing your life. Be bigger.
There you go. Minimizing your life. And on top of that, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes that's connected to family of origin issues. And so that would be patterns that are developed over years, such as like a very common one is feeling not good enough for a parent or never feeling like they're really happy with whatever you've accomplished or otherwise. This
like the parent is never happy.
Right. It's this feeling of like, I'm not good enough. Mom wants me to do this and I achieve that. And then it's still not enough. It's just not enough. And then what happens is later in life, because that's familiar for us, we end up getting into dating patterns where we date something that's familiar and it's hard to break out of that because that's all we've ever known. And so what feels like chemistry is actually red flags.
Oh, yeah. I went on you have time? You're a therapist. You can listen to this. I just got back from a 20-hour trip to Cancun.
Nice.
I went with a guy that I went on one date with.
Yeah.
Because I make good choices. I am older now, and so I'm recognizing red flags, but I'm still not acknowledging them right away. So I got to the airport and he was like, oh, come to the Admirals Club. And I said, for what? and he goes, well, just come. And I was like, well, I have to get on a Skylink for that, which is in Dallas, little trolley train thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'd rather not. Why don't you just come here when you're done?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, just come here. And I was like, oh my God. So I dragged my bags. I brought BFR bands. I brought all this stuff. So
Awesome.
so my bag is 1,000 pounds.
Right.
And
because why not? Going on a trip.
Why check it? Sweat your way through an airport on a second date.
Fitness.
To Mexico. So I get to the Animals Club. There's 8 stairs up. He makes me carry them all up the stairs by myself.
Nice.
Even though he invited me there. And then he goes, do you want anything? I go, not really. And he goes, okay, so let's go back to the gate.
No.
And I was like, and in that moment, I was rubbing my nose like this, and I go, I think I'm just gonna go to the bathroom super fast while we're here, and then we can go. And I took some breaths in the bathroom, and at that moment is when I should have gone, go home. But I didn't. So I went there, had a horrible first day. All he did was complain the entire time about the smallest things. It was a 17. I'm not saying this to be boastful. I'm saying it so everyone has an idea of what the room looked like. Most likely, $1,700 a night room.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was like, "There's a palm tree. You can't see the ocean from the whole balcony." I go, "It's a palm tree?" I was like, "It's a palm tree. It's beautiful."
Because we have those everywhere here, right?
Yeah. And I go, "I think you could just turn a little bit." And then and so it was just grinding me. And then he said something horrible. I was finally having fun, and I was dancing. And then he goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm dancing." And I like to make space when I dance. So I like no one to be around.
Clear the floor.
Yeah, clear the floor. This is my area.
It's going down.
And then I was like, "Just come dance." And he goes, "Not looking like that." And I went, "Okay, I've had enough." That was the maximum. And I left. I paid $1,000 to get a new flight home.
Good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
That's a difficult spot to be in, where most would be like, all right, I'm gonna sit it out. You showed up for you in that moment and said, this is not what I need. This is not how I'm gonna be treated. So peace.
And you know what? It's helped training. I think powerlifting really does that. It gives you the confidence to be like, oh no, this is my, and then he goes, you should probably stay another day or two because you have to get a COVID test. I go, I'm going to figure it out.
False. I don't.
I was like, I'm going to get there by myself. Thank you. I appreciate it. And this part of our relationship is over. So yeah, don't worry. Yeah. Oof. So ladies and men, I guess maybe men don't stand up for themselves either.
It's more common that men don't anymore. And there's actually a really good book on this, and of course I'm not going to remember the name. I believe 2 psychologists wrote it, and it's basically the verbiage is something along the line of it's like the boy problem, if you will, and with what kind of the concept behind it is, it gives the history of how men have gone from this, we're very masculine and we go to war and we fight and we have these like expectations to, over time through different movements, it's very much so been this, okay, look, you're a man, stop crying. You don't cry, man up, right? And it's created this philosophy that we have to be a certain way and fit into a certain box in order to be masculine or be a man. And in turn, what that's done is only hurt men. And so the rate of codependency is up tremendous. And then typically with codependency, it can be comorbid with other things like addiction, which is obviously highly up as well.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's what we work with at the therapy center primarily.
Yeah, I have a late husband who struggled through some things. So yeah, it's a lot now that, it became part of the light. I was like, wow, it's very common.
Yeah. Very, very, very common. More often than people realize.
Yeah, but most people that are very addicted to things are very good at hiding it.
Yeah, because that's connected to shame. Brene Brown is like one of the leading experts around shame and vulnerability. And if you look at it from the perspective,
this is the third time someone has brought up her name
to
me
really?
today. I was like, okay, I get it, universe.
Yeah. She's pretty awesome. She talks a lot about that, and it's connected to a lot of things. So as an example, we all have things about ourselves that we don't like to show or have other people see. And if someone does, it's typically what we call a box 4 relationship, which is based on what's called the Johari's window. And it's types of relationships. Level 1 was like someone you just ran into. Level 2 is like a friend, acquaintance, maybe coworker, maybe hoagie. And box 3 is going to be someone a lot closer. These are your best friends or someone you're dating. Box 4 is usually your spouse. And there can be like 1 to 3 of those in your life or more, just depending on how much you actually connect with that person. But in that scenario, the arena between the two people, the things that are shared, there's very little things that are held back. However, even forms of addiction will still be held back because the amount of shame around that issue for them creates this fear, which we call codependency out of fear, that if I share these things, then she will leave me. Because she will see me for who I am. She will see me under my mask, and I'm too ugly at that point for anyone to love me. I don't even love myself.
When really honesty is so much better. And I mean, if you're trying to find a way out of it, it will get you help. If you're finding, if you just want someone to see, like I dated a guy who, sat me down one time and he's like, I do cocaine and I want you to watch me do it. And I was like, okay.
Right out the gate.
Well, this was like a year in.
Okay.
And I was
okay.
like,
okay.
Well, this is an interesting Saturday night activity, but okay, let's do this. And then I couldn't ask any follow-up questions because I was like, how often?
Right.
It's like all the time.
Right.
But I think he just wanted to throw parties in the house that we lived, so we shared.
Okay. There you go. To each their own.
That didn't work out either.
Yeah. It happens. It
really does. But I think and family being ashamed of their kids doing drugs or and kids meaning adult kids also. So yeah, that's parents have a real way of molding how your adulthood ends up.
Absolutely. So much of that is what we call observed behavior, right? And so when we look at how we were raised, and you can think of friends or family members like, oh, you do that just like your dad, or you say that just like your mom, or it's because that's what we've known, that's what we've been taught. And because of that, we're pretty much limited to that, with the exception of other peers or other authority figures in our lives, teachers, etc. But that's how we understand the world works until we learn how other people's worlds work. And when we see it through their lens, we go, I have some questions about how I was raised
right.
and why this is this way, because I thought this is the only way.
But also, so in my maybe addiction, you're doing that because you have a different path that you're not actually following that you're supposed to follow. Like maybe you feel like you could be a dunker, or you feel like, and somebody else said you're never going to be that because you're 5'9", and you're like, fuck you. I'm definitely going to do this. Right. But then other people, instead of doing the FU path, they go on the, okay, fine, I'll just medicate myself till I'm numb.
And I would even throw in there that even with those who are like, you know what, I'm going to utilize this as a means in order to have myself succeed because of all the naysayers in my life. Right. That there's also, not always, but there can also be a piece where they have a different type of addiction, and maybe it's not a common thread one. Maybe it's not one that you can easily see on someone, but there can be many other factors that play into that. And in a situation like that, there are a lot of very high achievers who are also addicted to something, whether we're very aware of that or not.
Oh, I mean, in New York, there was high-end attorneys and mostly women that were like putting meth in their orange juice or coffee in the morning just to make it.
Oh yeah.
With the boys, you know? Yeah. like just to be there longer hours, work. It's not just make it with the boys. It is like sometimes women in any sort of field where it's male dominated, which is most, we have to put in 150% or 200% of what they're just to be equal. It's crazy. So I get it.
Yeah.
I do crystal meth no, I'm just kidding.
First thing in the morning. That's how I wake up. But yeah.
I'm kidding. Yeah. For everyone in Arezan's family. Hello, I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we do have to wrap this up. But will you join me for some Instagram training? You want to, if we put some stuff up, you want to work out with me?
Yeah, I'm more than happy. Okay. I can, so I
in the suit that you're wearing now.
Yeah. Just kidding. Now you're asking a lot more than I can give. There are limitations to this suit. So I have a program. It's a methodology that I developed that is based on PAP, post-activation potentiation.
Oh, heck yes.
And it's called the X-WOD, or the explosive workout of the day. And that's what I go around teaching, is how to put together that formula for training. Okay. And I'd be more than happy to put you through one.
Can you explain the difference between post-activation potentiation and HIIT? Because I think a lot of people get confused with that. And like plyos versus, Anyway.
The way that I like to express post-activation potentiation, PAP training, is as follows, which this is not going to be something that you're going to commonly see in HIIT, if you will. So an example would be, if I were to have you jump onto a 10-inch box, and let's say I had you do 10 reps wearing a 10-pound vest, and you can take your time, doesn't have to be fast. And then I say, okay, I'd like you to now take off the vest and jump. What happens when you jump that 11th time?
It's so much easier.
Yeah. And you end up overproducing, right? You end up jumping higher naturally because you're firing for 10 pounds that's no longer there. So that kind of contrast method of having the extra loading, removing that, and we're firing, right? Our body's firing. It's like lit up, or your central nervous system's lit up like a Christmas tree because it's firing for this extra load that it knows is there. When you take that off, your central nervous system doesn't necessarily go, okay, 10 pounds is off, right? It just goes, we've been firing at this rate consistently. We're just going to fire at that rate again. And that causes us to jump higher. And a good example of this, and that's a very isolated piece where in HIIT training, variations of it can come into like more of a circuit base, or it can even feel more CrossFit-ish at times. When you look at PAP training, the goal there, or the focus there, is getting the body to fire more effectively as a unit in a shorter amount of time. So the example I like to use is Ben Johnson. Back in the 88 Olympics in, I believe, Seoul, Korea, there was everyone was going nuts because it was him and Carl Lewis. And everyone was wanting to see this. There was a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of endorsements involved with this. And of course, Ben Johnson wins. He tests positive for steroids. That's another conversation for another day. But he goes down in history as the cheater. Carl Lewis ends up winning, who also tested positive, but we covered up better. So Bigger, Stronger, Faster is a great movie to watch. The Bell Brothers around some of that as well. Anyways, so, but one of the things that's overlooked now, there's not a what is the term? There's not a common understanding of exactly his training, because there's been different things publicized around how he's trained, or published, as how he's trained. However, there's this understanding that one of the things he used to do was he would squat really heavy, anywhere from 400 to 600 pounds. Sprinters are very good squatters. They're very powerful, period. And he would squat it for a few reps and then go out to the track and get into the blocks and fire out the gate. One of the things a lot of people don't understand about Ben Johnson is he was one of the fastest starters in the history of the 100-meter dash. Usain Bolt's one of the slowest. He actually catches people because he has 9 to 11 foot strides. If he was a fast starter, we're talking about a whole different ball game for him. But Ben Johnson was the man out the blocks. And the theory there is, right, if he's squatting heavy weight, put whatever weight on the bar, his central nervous system's going, okay, guys, we got something heavy on us. We got to move this. Let's get everyone involved, right? And he racks it. Now, logically, he knows the load is no longer there.
Right.
However, his body is primed for moving whatever that load was. So when he gets in the blocks, he's firing for a load that's no longer there, which causes him to literally jump out of the blocks.
And now, then his body's trained for that, for actual race day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Application and execution.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep.
100%. 100%.
It's pretty simple. Everyone makes training so challenging.
Yeah, or they try to make it super sexy, and it doesn't need to be.
Nope.
Some of the best things you can do are not sexy. A great example of one is laying on the ground and doing hamstring curls. By doing hamstring curls, you can put ankle weights on if you'd like. But when I was at Westside, Westside's a different environment. It's invite-only gym, right? Okay. And the scariest human beings I've ever been around, but also the nicest human beings. I was only allowed to train with the women, and they'd have to take weight off when it was my turn. And I deadlift near 700 pounds. And so when they're taking off weight for me, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Right. Anyways, but so just to give you a little bit of the atmosphere of that world.
I've never gotten an invite. Keep going.
Yeah.
And I won't at this rate.
But what Louis used to have me do was he would strap these 10-pound each ankle weights on my ankles. He'd have me laid on a bench, and he'd be like, "Mother effer, I don't want you off this bench till you finish 300 reps." 300. Which for a week later I couldn't walk, but the adaptation that came from that was huge. But it's not sexy. It's not. Who wants to sit on the bench and do that, forever?
Yes.
For 300 reps with all that weight. It's not fun. Mm-mm. However, it helped develop my hamstrings and my glutes more. It also helped protect my knees under heavy load. And I could do that 2 or 3 times a week. 2 or 3 times. And yeah. Once I got acclimated to it, let's be fair here. But that alone changed my ability to squat. It changed my ability to deadlift. It changed my knees' ability to not feel like they're getting bashed in when I'm jumping or training or otherwise. Mm-hmm. And just at Westside, I went from like a 585 deadlift to a 655 deadlift in a matter of like 2 months.
That's
no steroids.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is a good cover up. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Great one. Over there, they had a running joke where they're like, "Don't sit on the floor; you could get hepatitis," because the gym was so dirty.
That's
because Louis didn't care. It's different now. Yeah. I think he finally gave in before his passing, but it's one of those things where sitting on a piece of equipment, you're like, I've got to be soaking up some steroids somewhere, somehow. So,
definitely testing positive for roids or AIDS, either one.
Something new is in my system. Actually, Louis gave me as one of my parting gifts after breaking 3 of 4 world records while training with him. He gave me a pair of his old squat briefs. And so, so I have them in my garage, and people are always like, "What are those?" I'm like, "Oh, those are squat briefs." And like, "Why did you get those?" I was like, "Well, Louis gave them to me, blah, blah, blah." But I'm always like, if you want, you get your squat up, just sit in there. I'm guaranteed to get something in your system that'll be helpful. So.
Gross. This is going to be a great transition into Arezan's episode. Arezan's Eating with Limes is coming right up. But first, before we get into that, let's make sure everybody goes to Muscle Spasms, muscle.spasms, and checks out our workout. We're going to do one. I'm going to force them to. And also, maybe I can come over.
You could train
to the garage.
To the garage.
And then also, where can they find you?
Primarily on Instagram at The Explosive Coach with 1 E, THEX. But yeah, you can find me there.
And I'll tag him in all of everything that we put up. So you can find him. If you didn't understand how to do that, then we can just go ahead and find it on muscle.spasms. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh my God, it was so fun. All right, we will, up next is Eating Limes with Arezan. Love you guys. You look good.
Yeah, I look good. I look nice. I used to be a rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can you?
I want free fruit. No,
Can you do some?
no,
Yeah.
no.
I give you a beat?
I cuss all the time. Hey.
This is safe space. You can say whatever you want.
Let me think.
Hey, I can't believe I picked up a beat here.
Your beat sucks. Get another beat up. Hurry this up. I don't want to freestyle right now. Okay? You
Fine.
freestyle.
Here with Arezan and his limes.
Yeah.
His bicep muscles are almost a dime.
Y'all, look at it. It's my turn to go.
All right,
Hey,
hit that beat.
Mara is not good at anything. Hey, good morning to all those people that are at Mara's house. She doesn't know. hey.
They need to see the artist here.
Duh. I'm so famous that anybody wants to see me.
Everybody. That's a 90s song. Did you know that?
How much mics do you have?
How many? I have 4.
Why?
Because every week I pay people to be my friend.
You pay people to be your friend? So you pay me to be your friend?
I mean, kinda. I gave you a gift, right? Fruit.
It is fruit. You know I never tried these before.
Really? Do you like peanut butter?
I love peanut butter.
Okay.
These are M&M's
Can you
or
stop?
something?
Nah, son. Can you stop moving those around because they're making rattly noises?
I'll stop it now.
All right. What do you think your goals are for year 10? Now that you're 10.
Lose some weight.
All right. So little. Okay, I like it.
And
Get a girlfriend.
no.
Okay.
And I'll get more jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swole time.
That's really it.
All right. You said it to the people.
Mhm.
Okay. What do you think your 5-year plan is?
What does that mean? Like in 5 years' time?
Yeah, within the next 5 years, what do you think you want to accomplish? Become an astronaut?
Lose a lot of weight. That's all. And get really jacked. And
Super jacked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I don't know. Go on more podcast.
Heck yes.
Uh-huh.
Heck yes. Do you like podcasting?
Yes, it's actually fun doing this. I still got my lime. This lady not letting me eat it.
Because you make so much noise. Can you hold that up to your mouth? The microphone?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You make so much noise.
Yeah, I know. You sound like a dinosaur.
You
sound like a dog that mixed up a dinosaur and you don't know what 2 plus 2 is. Why you laugh like that? You breathe and you're like
They're trying not to blow out the listener's ear.
That does. She laughed too much.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, oh my gosh. You need to stop. You got dinosaur ears.
I know I might have a crooked tooth. I know.
It doesn't matter. Because your eyebrows are D-shaped.
Listen, there was a time in the 90s
Yeah.
when it was cool to pluck your eyebrows and make them real thin. And then it wasn't cool anymore and they wanted to be bushy like yours, okay?
Mine are not bushy at all.
I mean, no.
Keep your mouth Adam.
Were you gonna do the Will Smith?
Yeah. Keep your mouth out of my wife's.
No, keep my wife's name.
I'm out of your mouth.
Okay, good job. Woo! You did the Walmart
Keep
version.
my wife.
Name.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Oh.
That's not the Walmart version, by the way.
Yeah, Walmart doesn't have any swearing. That's
Oh. Oh yeah. Keep your wife's name out
Your wife's name.
out your
Beep, 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 beep.
freaking mouth. Isn't like the F word and yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it still means the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Because you're saying it to mean the other word, right?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, if you're just replacing, okay, for instance, at
Your
my-
forehead's big.
At my sister's house,
Mhm.
when my niece and nephew were growing up, she wouldn't allow swearing at all.
Mhm.
So I went there for New Year's one time, and her friend Amy came,
Mhm.
and my sister said, "Okay." And my sister's friend Amy is a marketer for Harley Davidson. Like,
You okay?
okay, so like Harleys, you know, those guys are like rough,
Mhm.
you know. So my sister said, replace all the swear words with an animal or like. So she was like, if you wanted to say, is your mom gonna yell at me if I swear?
No. Like if you're gonna say like ASS,
Yeah, kind of.
female dog, like
That's a
no,
donkey.
no, that's
That's
the B word.
Yeah.
That's the B word.
That's the B word. Yes.
So you could just say female dog, get out of my house.
Yeah. So she said. So we were playing cards, and I was winning,
Yeah.
and then she would replace
The
the word,
with-
but then also say the word. So she would go, "You monkey asshole."
But you still say the bad word.
I know. So anyway, if you replace the bad word with something, you're still saying the bad word. So it doesn't really matter.
You just say the whole
I'm a
word.
horrible role model for children.
I could tell.
Are you glad that we trained together? You hate it?
No, actually, I like it because if I got a different trainer, they wouldn't be in a podcast one, and they wouldn't be an actor, and I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
You think that I'm an actor? Do you?
Who's at the door?
I don't know. Who's at the door?
That's my brother, I think.
Do you think that?
Oh,
it's a
that's my
gift
thing.
for us?
That's my dad. No. Yeah, I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah, we're podcasting.
I'm doing a podcast. Huh? It's my birthday.
Gonna be 10. Tomorrow.
My mom is gonna get mad that you bought this.
Is she?
Yes.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Then don't eat it. Just look at it.
But
You got donuts every Friday.
how about you take it back? Like you take it.
You want me to put it away?
Because after
And then
this,
what?
after this, you keep it.
Me keep it.
Yeah. After this, I'm gonna go get something else that I like more than that.
That's painful.
So just take it that way. But it was a good gift. The Walmart thing is just still here, so it's fine.
Where is it?
It's on the ground. Okay, I'm sorry. What does this button do?
What? So this one you hit to hit record and to hit stop.
Yeah, okay.
What do you want to do with this portion of your podcast? What can the listeners expect from you every week?
Eat more limes, I guess.
Okay. Are you going to talk about your fitness and nutrition and like your journey? Like how jacked you're getting?
You know, I only started like 2 days ago.
I know, but you have to talk about your progress. Like what your program is, all those things.
What kind of program? Oh. Huh? Me?
I know he does, right?
I do? People hold it like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you hold it down here, then you ruin it. You're doing great.
Here.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Mama.
Do you love your mom?
Mama did this something I did, and she gave me candy, and I said no to it.
I know. He said, my mom's going to get mad at you if she sees you gave this to me.
So I just said no. Because I'm going to get something else.
Oh, that's why.
And that's too much. Look, she got me 2 boxes.
Well, I didn't say eat them all in one sitting.
I know.
You can have a couple.
Huh? Yeah, there's no way I cannot eat it in one sitting. It has to be one sitting.
That's the issue with everybody, I think, though. I think everybody just eats. That's why you eat limes. We're calling this segment "Eating Limes with Arezan."
Give it to me. Let me take it.
I know. That's what I keep saying.
What happened? Mom, you want to talk in the mic? Okay. She's shy, I guess.
Yeah, she's even whispering. Okay, so what can we expect from you?
Do
you hear all about how you're 10?
I'm
what
10.
happens in your school?
My school sucks.
Why?
My cousin's school are better, to be honest.
Okay, what
My
makes
school
them better?
sucks. No one knows anything about anything like stuff. That's it.
Like podcasting?
Podcasting, YouTube. They don't even know video games. They didn't even know YouTube.
Should we put some exercises up on YouTube that you do?
I
Why?
don't want to.
We'll do it when you get super good at them. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, should we sign off? Should we say...
Goodbye, people.
Thank you for listening to...
Thank you for listening to Lime with
Eating Limes with Arezan.
Eating Limes with Arezan.
And we'll see you... We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, next week.
Perfect. Nice job, dude.